As Outbreak set the foundation for Exo Zombies, Infection tried to innovate by adding different kinds of rounds to break up the monotony that a lot of maps fall into. But those changes ended up feeling more like an annoyance due to the sheer quantity of them being spammed, and the map wasn't received very well because of it. But with Carrier, Sledgehammer learned from their mistakes and managed to innovate in a way that not only makes it the best Exo Zombies map so far, but even rivals some Treyarch maps. What really sets Carrier apart is just how many new features it brings to the table. It feels fresh and innovative, while still keeping the core feel of Exo Zombies. Compared to the previous two maps, it stands out and brings some much needed variety to the formula. When you first load in, the first thing you'll notice is the split spawns. Technically, we have seen this before way back in Verrucht in 2009, 6 years before Carrier. So while it's not exactly a new concept, it's still nice to see split spawns make a return. I really wish more maps would experiment with their spawn rooms or try something different like this. That said, I do have a few complaints. First off, the split spawn lead to having two quick revive machines, which kind of feels redundant. They could have easily fixed this by placing quick revive at the gate where you can see the other spawn. It would have been cool to have that as a common point for both sides to interact with each other. The other issue is that the split spawn doesn't really mean much on this map. Unlike Verrucht, where you had to turn on the power to finally meet up with your friends, here, you can just buy the door to the armory and immediately reunite. A better approach would have been to make both sides work their way to the exosuit room to meet up. Then from there, the armory could become accessible through the doors after some kind of authentication process that would have needed the exosuits. Speaking of the armory, this is where you'll find the grenade disposal machine. Like the pit in Mob of the Dead that gives you a free 20 points, you can use your grenades here to get additional points depending on where they land in the Plinko machine. It's really useful in the early game since grenades don't have much purpose at that point anyway, so you might as well take advantage and gain some extra points. Plus, if you're lucky, you may even be able to get 4,000 points. The armory is also home to the initial mystery box location and one of the new tactical items, the teleport grenade. It's pretty simple, where it will teleport you wherever it lands and killing any zombies in a small area at the destination. It's great for making quick escapes or clearing gaps you don't feel like running through. There's also the repulsor, another new tactical item you can get from the box. It's basically a shorter 360-degree thunder gun shot that sends all the zombies around you flying and instantly kills them. It's decent for breaking free if you get cornered, but I noticed at higher rounds, another group of zombies would pretty much immediately take their place, so you'd end up having to use more than one to actually be safe. Overall, it's decent, but not too overpowered. Within the med bay, we get a new perk called Exo Stockpile. It's a straightforward perk that increases your reserve ammo and gives you more lethal and tactical grenades. Since there's no perk limit in this game, it's definitely worth picking up, especially since grenades are pretty powerful. While exploring the map, you'll probably come across a power-up drone. These carry a random power-up and fly away, forcing you to chase them down and deal enough damage to unlock the drop. We've seen free drops in maps before, like the launch pads in the biodome on Moon, but this one just fits the aesthetics of Advanced Warfare so well. It's not too hard to deal with, but it forces you to go out of your way, making you fight through zombies to get to it, making it a good risk-reward system. Speaking of power-ups, this map also introduces two new ones, Explosive Touch and Open Fire. Explosive Touch is exactly what it sounds like. When active, you're surrounded by a cluster of stars, and any zombie that touches you is instantly killed. Open Fire, on the other hand, gives you infinite ammo for a short time, letting you just dump rounds as much as you want. Both of these are great additions that fit perfectly into zombies, with Explosive Touch being great for close-range encounters, and Open Fire supporting more of a ranger role. And honestly, I'm surprised they didn't make their way into later games. They just feel like such natural additions to the power-up lineup. Like the past two maps, Carrier brings in a new zombie type called Blinkers, otherwise known as the teleporting zombies. They move similarly to the teleporting Nova Crawlers from Moon, but with the speed of a zombie. They can be pretty dangerous since they can close the gap between you really quickly, making it easy for them to land hits if you're not paying attention. This makes them especially dangerous if you're low on health and need time to heal. Much like Infection, this map also added an objective-based round, the bomb round. Thankfully, it's not as obnoxious or intrusive like the Survivor rounds. The way it works is that a bomb will be planted at a specific area on the map, and you have to defuse it in time, but that area will be filled with toxic gas. These areas are guarded by several Atlas troops that don't deal too much damage, but can be annoying in the higher rounds. Thankfully, when you kill a soldier, they drop a short camouflage power-up, allowing you to defuse the bomb easily. If you manage to defuse the initial bomb, you'll be rewarded with a random power-up drop. However, if you fail, Atlas troops will move to another area and plant a second bomb. Failing 3 times in a row causes a Goliath boss zombie to spawn in the next round, regardless of what's coming up. Besides the 2 max ammo rounds, this is the only special round on the map, and it's a nice way of incorporating the toxic gas rounds from Infection without being too overbearing. Unlike the survivor rounds, which force you to help them or face a heavy punishment, the bomb round isn't as mandatory. If you don't defuse it, the gas will disappear by the next round, and you'll just have to deal with the boss zombie. That being said, the Goliath is definitely more challenging on this map since it's not as open as Infection, making it harder to put distance between you and the boss, especially since he can now teleport. This kind of incentivizes you to defuse the bomb to avoid dealing with him, but the round itself isn't too difficult to feel like a burden. To help deal with these rounds, we get 2 new score streaks, the Repulsion Turret and the Sentinel Reinforcements. The Repulsion Turret isn't that great since it only points in one direction and slows down zombies, dealing minimal damage. It would have been a lot more useful if it behaved like a normal turret and gave you the ability to rip it off and use it manually, allowing you to slow the zombies, kind of like a pocket magnetron. The Sentinel Reinforcement, on the other hand, are fantastic. You spawn in 4 Sentinel soldiers, each wielding different weapons and doing a pretty good job of killing zombies. On top of that, they can also defuse the bomb, and in co-op, revive teammates. Unfortunately, in single player, they won't revive you, which would have been a nice touch, but I can see why they didn't include it as a feature. Even though I try not to focus on the story since the gameplay is the main point of these videos, I have to mention that this map is pretty unique in that it kills off one of the main characters, giving us Lennox as the new 4th member. I really like the added touch that the other 3 original characters now have their profile cards updated with the Sentinel logo patched over them. In addition to this, Oz becomes the announcer on the map, which is a neat way to keep the story more mysterious and engaging.
Nice. Oz, is that you?
The map itself takes place on an Atlas aircraft carrier, and I really like the small detail that if you stay still, you can see the rocking of the ship as if it's actually on the water, which is a pretty nice touch. There are also some interesting areas that add to the atmosphere. The medbay has patients lying around, while the biolab has a constant warning bell ringing, and dead dogs locked in cages. Then there's the moon pool with different diving suits, cracked glass, and even a shark swimming around in the water. Finally, there's the lift where you'll find the giant dead shark along with some caged ones. Overall, it's a more interesting map compared to the previous 2, with a lot more personality to it, but it still falls kind of flat when compared to some Treyarch maps. When it comes to gameplay, Carrier is definitely more challenging than the previous 2 maps. Unlike the Courtyard in Outbreak and the 3 main areas in Infection, there aren't really any easy spots to train. The best option for training is probably the cargo area, but even that has its issues. The containers and varying elevations make it a bit tricky to maneuver, but it's still the most manageable spot on the map. You also have the moon pool, which is a small circular space, but when you get EMP'd, it's easy to get overrun. There are also the 2 spawn areas, but personally, I was never really a huge fan of using them as training spots. The rest of the map is full of tight hallways, with how zombies can spawn in front of you, and the teleporting zombies. It's really easy to get surrounded. You're almost always fighting to keep some distance between yourself and the horde. But this map does give us a very unique wonder weapon that plays to the strengths of Carrier's layout. The LZ-52 Limbo is such an interesting gun. Its long barrel and jagged teeth that occasionally pulses, along with the simple revolver-like reload, gives me an almost alien kind of vibe, like the VR-11. The way it works is by shooting a small ball that creates a laser line, damaging any zombies it comes into contact with. If you hipfire it, the line can start changing rotation, making it a bit unreliable, but if you aim down sights, then it always fires a straight horizontal line. While it doesn't have a ton of ammo, it does deal a good amount of damage and pairs perfectly with the map's tight hallways. The synergy between the map's layout and how the Limbo functions creates a nice risk and reward system. You're encouraged to move through the tight areas and then quickly turn around to fire down the hallway, maximizing damage per shot. But you've still got to be careful of zombies spawning ahead of you, increasing the risk of getting sandwiched. Along with the Wonder Weapon, Carrier also gives us 2 new distinct box weapons, the Ohm and the M1 Irons. The Ohm is an energy-based LMG that still uses ammo similar to the AE4. Its unique feature is it has 2 different modes, LMG and Shotgun. While the LMG mode feels a bit weak, it's useful at racking up points, while the Shotgun mode on the other hand deals pretty good damage and is a preferable mode for kills. Both modes share the same ammo pool with a single shotgun shot, consuming about 4 rounds of the LMG mode. I'm also a big fan of this weapon's reload animation, especially with the sound of the weapon cooling down, making it just feel satisfying. The M1 Irons is basically everything I wanted the Remington New Model Army from Buried to be. It only comes in its dual-wield variation, has a high fire rate, and deals pretty high damage in the earlier rounds, though it doesn't have a ton of ammo. It's especially fun with the open fire power-up, basically turning you into a gunslinging cowboy, making these 2 a perfect combo. I also have to mention that it has one of the coolest swap animations of any gun, probably ever. Out of the 3 maps so far, Carrier is by far the most unique, with its setting and the sheer amount of content it adds. We've got new weapons and tools, 2 new score streaks, new zombie type, and even a map gimmick with the grenade disposal machine. Even though this map reintroduces dog rounds and still has infected rounds, they did give us some quality of life changes to make them more manageable, like the fact that Sledgehammer finally gave us 2 decontamination zones. As nice as it was that Infection didn't have dog rounds, and I would have preferred at least one more map without them, but even having that brief break from the dog rounds helps change up the pacing between maps, so you're not constantly dealing with the same type of rounds. Overall, Carrier feels like a breath of fresh air after playing the last 2 maps. It's a solid improvement, and so far, it's easily my favorite Exo Zombies map. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, consider subscribing. In the meantime, check out my last 2 videos, one on how Outbreak and Exo Zombies reinvented the mode and introduced features that are still seen in recent games, or my Infection video where I explain why it's not as bad as people say. Also, sorry if I sounded a little off in this video, I was getting over a cold at the time of recording. But let me know your thoughts on Carrier in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video where we go over Descent. See ya.